Well, everybody knows the Zimbabwean voice now, so that's for sure. And it's a beautiful voice, that one. One of unity, one of togetherness, one of peace, one of love, you know. That's the way forward. Oga, Oga.
Yeah, I feel like we're giving away all of the juice for the content, for the main thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But before we start, you're gonna be fine. We're gonna do great. It's just you and I having. That's why I like to record first, so that we can catch up first and then get into it. But yeah, I'm gonna kick us off. Yara, thank you so much for your time and for joining me. How are you doing?
I am so well. I'm so excited. I feel famous being on your podcast. I listen to all of them. I feel so famous right now.
Well, thanks for joining. I know you. I actually messaged you, to be fair, a while ago, and you being bad with your phone as you always are, with your WhatsApp, did not respond. And I'm like, oh. Now, so you shared a couple of episodes. They're like, hey, listen, I want to get you on this podcast. It'd be great to chat to you. So I'm glad that you're here today. You know?
Yeah, I know. I'm really sorry. WhatsApp really isn't my strong point. I mean, if you just phone me because the amount of unopened WhatsApps, not good.
Rough. No, but glad to have you. So you've been traveling. Where have you just been? Have you just been traveling in Norway?
I went on a nice little holiday to Norway, up to the Arctic Circle, just for just a little bit of fun. I think everyone's obviously been stuck and locked down and stuff. So actually, it's been the first time people have been out. It was so weird going to the airport without a PCR test. I kind of felt a little bit illegal. And then in Norway,
Really? So it's just like right.
No PCR needed. And in Norway, they don't even wear masks. So when I landed back in Zim, I was like, oh, shame, I've lost my mask. So I had to wrap my scarf around my face. But yeah, no, just a nice little holiday. So it's been good to get out. And then, back home now, ready to get back to work. Well, do
you work now? You will tell us. But why I wanted to talk to you, I was, of course, doing my research as I always do. And I'm trying to think where I met you when we were at university. I think it was 2012, 13, around there.
Yeah.
What I wanted to talk to you is like, I was doing my research and I was like, geez, Yara is actually, the more I think about it, one of the most patriotic / passionate Zimbabweans I actually know. Actually.
That's exciting.
No, honestly, I was like, no, she's very patriotic, very passionate, and I thought we'd have the conversation to talk about it.
The patriotic thing, I'm stuck. That green mamba Zimbabwean passport, there's no hope for me anywhere else. I have to own it.
You're proud about it, you own it, you roll with it.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe where to start the conversation. Of course, I met you abroad in the UK when we were at college, but to take it back to the beginning, were you born here, or did you come from? I know your mom's South African, or she's from Zim?
No, my mom's born in Zim. So I'm third generation. I mean, she's managed to wiggle a South African passport. Lucky her. But no, she was born in Zim. I was born here. My dad was Portuguese, but he died when I was 1. So being me and my mom living our best life. She's a geologist. So grown up in Zim, traveled around a lot with her as a child, looking for gold. Beautiful senior school here. So very Zimbabwean, and then went off to Wales for university.
And before we went to university, I know, you being in Zim and stuff, a big thing that you're very passionate about is your equestrian or horse riding, if I can call it that.
Yeah.
How did that even happen? Like, how did that even come about?
Oh gosh! So back in my formative years, when I was, I don't know how I actually it just came to me. We were living on the mines, like I said, with my mum.
So would you guys travel from because of course she has to do like exploration. So would you guys, when she's doing her mapping, you would go with her from mine to mine and everything?
I was kind of just left with the maid on the side of the road, like, play.
Right.
No, I'm joking. So we
Right.
did a lot of field work, obviously, before I had to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived on the mines, like Kwekwe, Kadoma,
Mm.
and
Mm.
and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so yeah, ever since I was a child, I was like, Mom, please, I want a pony, I want to ride. And she's like, no, what is this? Like, why do
Mm.
we don't do this? This is not, and
This is not what we do. It's not what
like
we do.
I didn't really listen to my anybody when I was little. I just did what I wanted to. So
Mm-hmm.
and then we were on the mines, and she was like, Yara, you can have a donkey. And I'm like, I do not want a donkey, I want a horse, please. Anyway, so when I was in grade 1 and we moved back to Harare, I was about to start riding lessons. And that's also, she thought I could be able to listen to a teacher because
Why? Because you were ungovernable up until grade
yeah,
1.
a bit of a, I mean, she just left me and like home my own thing. Like, I mean, I guess I still do my own thing now to this day. I don't really listen
Yeah.
to the rules. It's terrible. But yeah, no. So, and then that's how it started. And we moved into town, and then, yeah, obviously I got addicted, and then I did it. I'm still writing. So yeah, it's a
What do you
very,
like about it? What do you like about it? Quite, I
um,
feel like it's
I
quite a
think,
popular sport in Zim, I would say, like horse riding.
I think it's kind of growing now. Actually, we're getting a lot more
Mm.
into the sport, which is so cool.
Mm.
But what I like about it mostly is that it's so well. One, you can do it like basically until dying.
Mm.
For
Mm.
a long time. It's also like that bond about connecting with an animal and like having a responsibility. And yeah, it's a very humbling, leveling sport. I mean, one day you can be winning, and the next
Yeah.
day, on the floor or having an accident or so
Yes.
you never get too big for your boots. Because it's just, you never know what's coming or how it's going to turn out. So it's
Yeah.
cool. I guess you live in that moment of a lot more than, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of what I like about
But
it.
when you're doing it, like, for example, like with other sports, like cricket or rugby, when you have someone to look onto TV and say, "Oh, I want to be so and so when I grow up,"
Yeah,
or whatever. I like to
yeah,
play. Like, did you guys have like similar role models that you could look
yeah,
up
yeah,
to
yeah. I mean,
in a
there's
Robin sense? Or
a lot of
mm,
top riders that we look at, and
mm,
like the ladies, Tops Alexander to name one.
mm,
But yeah, there's a lot of obviously top athletes that we look at, and they're amazing, and the horses are amazing, and they have these amazing tours where they go around and jump in big cities, and there was just one in Miami Beach, and like jumping
mhm.
literally right by the ocean. It's unbelievable the venues that they have.
Yes,
I guess you do, obviously, always as a child you look up to to the top dogs,
the,
and
the, the top dogs, right?
yeah.
And did you want to be a rider when you grew up, like, or did you
um
just want to like, or was it just fun? Was it just fun?
yeah, no, I guess I think as a child, I guess and in Zimbabwe we're so privileged here to be able to try a lot of sports. I mean, half the time at school we forced to do them. Yeah, so I say, yeah, privileged to be trying a lot of sports. But I guess once you start to, I guess, do well at one sport, you kind of specialize a little bit, and and then you get better and better, and that's how you kind of, I guess, you grow in the sport, and then you get like mini goals. And yeah, so for me, I think my goal when I was younger was to go to the Youth Olympic Games, which was at the end of high school. So when I was 18, that was a goal for
Hmm.
me. I had a bad riding accident before, which was a little bit of a challenge.
What happened? What
Uh,
happened?
so I fell off like in a water causeway,
Hmm.
and landed in front of the horse, and then the horse kicked me in the head and stole right back, and I had amnesia, and a
Oh,
punctured lung and all that kind of stuff. So it was quite a couple of months to try and get back, and obviously a head injury, concussion, that's not great.
mm,
One aunt, I couldn't remember her for a while because she was away
jeez.
on a safari. So yeah, and even my friends, I mean, they came from school to visit me, and I didn't, hi, I'm Yara, nice to meet you, kind of thing. So that was a little bit one of my bad falls that I've had. But yeah, I had that fall in the January, and then it was the Youth Olympics in August of that year. So obviously not much turnaround
Wait,
time.
did you even know how to still ride? Like, of course, let alone your memory. Was your muscle memory still sufficient
Yeah,
enough to
no, it
ride?
was fine. Like I mean, obviously it was a little bit nerve wracking to get back on a horse, and my poor mother, you know, I don't know if I want my daughter back on a horse after
Mm,
what's happens. So there was a lot of like mental training and sports psychology and all that kind of stuff to get back onto the horse. And it came back, and I was lucky I didn't have any falls, because obviously I wasn't actually really allowed to ride for a year after my fall, because if you have another head trauma after, it can be quite detrimental, and you can have permanent
concussion stuff. Right.
So I came back from that, and that was cool. And then I went to the Youth Olympic Games, and that was very cool. And we got a team bronze medal. So that was
before the outcome of that. Who did you go? Do we have? Are we well represented as Zimbabwe in terms of at the Youth Olympic Games, specifically for equestrian and horse riding?
Yeah. So basically, what they do for the Youth Olympic Games, and we're actually coming up to. I think it's obviously because of COVID, they weren't able to have it. So we've got an athlete now going, they've kind of got a side competition in place of it going to Germany now. But how the selection happens is they choose, if you qualify. So obviously you've got to go to the qualifying event and you get a certificate of competency. So it's like at a level that the competition is going to be held at. Obviously, it's like it's the top 5 countries in Africa that get chosen to go. And then you compete as a team, like Team Africa. And that's how it kind of is done. It's a bit confusing, because obviously, I mean, you're going as Africa team, and then obviously you have an individual competition as well. But I mean, it's a very cool thing, and it's for us as equestrian sport, we aren't represented at all. I mean, it's a big thing. This Youth Olympic Games opens up, certainly for myself and for the athletes that have gone after me. It has opened up opportunities, and it's a great stepping stone, I think, for us onto more of a global scale,
global platform.
Yeah.
Is it tough to kind of grow the game locally? Because if you look at least the perception of what equestrian and horse riding is, quite often it's like perceived like similar to like English, so like cricket or rugby. It's a posh sport, if I can call it that. Is that still the case even when you're growing up in Zim? Were you aware like, okay, this is pretty posh? I
mean, I wouldn't say posh. I mean, it's
not posh, but it's a privileged sport, because you have to pay for horses and training, and you know what I mean. All the
I mean, and that I'll come to this a bit later, but so we're trying to do a lot of development, I guess, in the African equestrian circuit. So we had a equestrian at All Africa Games in 2019 that was held in Morocco, and we went, and it was awesome, because it was our kind of first continental championships, if you like we don't actually have a continental championship. There's a lot of very good riders in North Africa and a lot of very good riders in South Africa,
but everywhere in between is kind of like
is questionable. So it's also about like the access to the venues. I mean, when you fly your horse, it's expensive. I mean, it's $10,000-$15,000 in transport fees for a horse. So it's not just like, I jump on the plane and with my hockey stick and I can kind of get to the venue. It's a lot of planning for a horse to leave Africa. They have to go into quarantine. So that's kind of what sets us, apart from the European
other nations with the resources. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're trying to do a lot of, competition where we go to the different countries and we borrow horses. Obviously, it's not the same when you're not on your own horse. It can be a bit of a challenge, but it's good for us to get out there, and it's good for us to, meet people and grow the sport and bring in trainers, bring in officials, bring in judges to also, obviously uplift our sport in our own country, because it's all very well we're all going off somewhere else, but I mean, you want to develop in your own country. Which it has been. I mean, we've also got an amazing facility now, which we never had, and we've got so many young riders coming up through the ranks, which is amazing. So it's definitely getting better. Obviously there's always room to improve, but I'd say equestrian is looking bright in Zimbabwe.
And where do they train, just for someone listening to be like, okay, my daughter likes watching ponies on television, or horses, or son for that matter? Where they even
I guess there's a couple of trainers in Zim. You can go kind of to like a riding school and learn. Then obviously you progress and you get your own horse, and then that kind of goes into a stable yard, and you get into the show system, and then you start like doing shows locally. Then you can go. A lot of riders have actually just gone now to South Africa for Easter. There's quite a few shows there. So and then you kind of go from there. So yeah, there is a few trainers locally, and it is quite nice that it's still, you can still get into the sport. I mean,
Yes.
obviously the main thing is kids and grassroots. And we need the children because obviously they're the stars, the future stars. Which it is kind of once you get into it, it becomes a bit of a family affair. So it's like past generations, I guess. But yeah, you can definitely get into the sport. I had no background, nothing like. I want to do this, and you can pretty much do whatever you want. I think if you put your mind to it.
Wait, I have two questions.
Yeah.
The first is, I know you said you guys did the Youth Olympics as Team Zim. How was that? That's my first question. And the second question I'll ask after is, I was doing my research. It said you were a Youth Olympic Games changemaker. What does that mean? So maybe I'll answer the two. What was the first one?
Okay.
How was that first foray? Second one,
Youth Olympic Games. So I went in 2010. So it was actually the inaugural Youth Olympic Games held in Singapore, which was amazing. Such a cool experience. As Team Africa, we won a bronze medal, which was also very, very cool. Win a bronze. And then from that experience, I met a whole bunch of Olympians, and you get, obviously, our Zimbabwe Olympic Committee funded us, and I kind of got into the system there with ZOC, and they're super supportive, and they have been, since I was 17, since I went to those games, and it was just amazing to be part of it, and you just realize how big the world is, and how many how elite sport is. It's unbelievable how how people can get to that level and how they train, and so going to those games was awesome. I then obviously still carried on riding. I went to university and all that kind of stuff. Carried on riding, carried on being involved with our Olympic committee. I did a lot of volunteering here and there. They'd call on me to come and do help with education through sport programs. And obviously I'm a very patriotic Zimbabwean, so I love to share my experience and share how I got to the Youth Olympics, or how basically my journey and stuff, and just chat to young athletes if they are having a little bit of doubt, or how can I do this. And my biggest thing that I always tell everyone, it doesn't matter if it's if I want to go to the Olympics or start a business, it's just start. Honestly, you don't everything and be ready. You don't have to be ready to start. You can just take that first step, and then that's when things start flowing, and you meet people and you learn, and you kind of so I think that was my biggest takeaway, is just start something. And then I was involved with the Olympic Committee the whole time that I was away, and then I came back, and they basically nominated me to be the young changemaker. So I then went as a young ambassador for the Games to Buenos Aires in 2018. And basically, again, it was a mentor role. So I mentored the Zimbabwean, and then obviously international. So we met. So there was basically one changemaker from each country that travels with the team, and you interact, and you obviously, there was a few conferences, and chatted about what was current within the Olympic movement and all of that kind of stuff. And it's also, again, it's all about networking and meeting people. And actually, the person that I went to visit in Norway was a friend who I met at the Olympic Academy. So it's all very Olympic network and that kind of stuff. So and then I've just stayed involved with our Zimbabwe Olympic Committee, and I'm now actually on the Athletes Commission as well. So I'm sitting on a board with our top marathon runners, and so it's amazing. It's amazing where you can get and how you can go, and it's the Olympic values are basically friendship, respect, and excellence. So I kind of try and portray that in all my walks of life, which is they're very cool values, and it's very cool 3 things to go by. But so that's kind of how I've been involved and kind of grown.
As a mentor, in as one who's had to be a mentor, what is the big strength as young Zimbabwean athletes? What is the biggest strength that young Zimbabwean athletes have, and what's the biggest weakness that you're seeing?
So I'll start with the weakness. I think the main thing is resources. I think there's a lot of lacking in resources in Zimbabwe, and it's unfortunate that a lot of our top athletes have to leave the country to shine and get the sponsorship or the coaching that they need. But I think the main thing about Zimbabwean athletes, the strength is, they never give up. I mean, they just keep going and keep going, and there's always hurdles, and they just, they are strong individuals, and they just carry on. And it's amazing. People go, I was listening to your podcast with Hilton and his story, and you heard that completely. And with Ashton, they both top of their game as well, and it's the same thing. It's just you got to keep going, and you've got to keep going, and eventually at one point you will, get there. So for me, I think that is the strength of Zimbabwean athletes, is they're so resilient, and they just keep going. And again, there's so much talent here. It's just kind of nurturing it and getting it out there.
So it's so we have it. We have the resilience, the drive. It's just the lack of resources, and by resources we mean dollars and cents, right?
I think as well, maybe a little bit as well,
information
is the planning and the management. I think a lot of these, if they were, taken under a wing of good management, I feel like certainly in my experience with going to competition stuff, that is where we lack. We lack management. We lack exposure. Like, we should go to games, and we should, like, for example, our all games, like, we should have gone maybe a week before, prepared, rode our horses, got more experience, I guess, before just, we kind of go to these events, and then we adhere, and we're like,
then it's like, what is going on?
I'm riding with my heroes, I'm competing with my heroes, and you're looking around, as opposed to, being super,
you are competing.
You are on the same, you're on the same playing field as them. You are as good as them. So stop looking around and watching what they do. Do your thing, and kind of. So I think a lot of that is management and preparation. And I think we've got the athletes, and we've got definitely the talent. It's just making sure we can nurture it and put it in the right direction, and make sure they are able to. I think as well.
It's huge. Yeah, I've seen this a lot. Like I always say this all the time, that our greatest resources are people. Like with Zimbabwe's greatest resource isn't even its like land, or its sunny weather, or its resource gold. It's actually its people. And if you just learn how to nurture and manage them well, I think there's a lot can be done in a phenomenal way. If I can use horse riding as a metaphor for life, it seems like it's a sport where, at least for you, it's a passion, but of course a lot of challenges. You climb on your horse, you hop off, you get injured. Do you know what I mean? But your big thing was, like, a lot of people, even this thing that I found is just start, right? If I can go into, I was going to touch on business first, but like, no, maybe I'll touch on university. When you said I'm going to start university now, what was the thinking there? And, what did you study? And was it related to horse riding at all? Or no?
No, nothing is ever related in my life. I do too many different things. I tackle. So I went off to university, South Wales, and I studied GIS. The reason I went to university is because
is that what geographical information system?
Information system, so like geostatistics, mapping kind of stuff. The reason I went off to university, so I was all set to be a professional show jumper, and that was my dream and my vision, and I fell off my horse and had that amnesia, and I was like, maybe
when the proverbial, I didn't mean to laugh because it's funny, but like
I'm also like,
you said, fell off my horse.
Like, what happens if you're in a wheelchair, then career gone, kind of thing. So I went off to university, and
before I let you finish, so you were actually you wanted to do this thing professionally, then you had the injury. You said, let me have a fallback.
And also, my mom was also like, just go to university. Like, it's amazing. You'll have fun. Like, just do a degree, and then you can do whatever you want. Like, promise. And, cool. Okay. Like, I was probably going to have a gap year anyway, whatever. Anyway, went off to university. And it was actually so fun. I chose my degree because there was lots of trips. I just
like, this seems fun.
I was like, they get to go to like Australia and like New York. I was like, yeah, I definitely want. And obviously, I grew up like as a geologist daughter, so mapping and travel, and yeah, like that bug was kind of put in. So yes, I went off and did my mapping degree in Wales, of all places, and also the reason Wales is because it had nice accommodation. I didn't want to share a shower, so I was like,
Right.
yeah, let's go. Went off to Wales and did 3 years of mapping, and then after that, I went to South Sudan. And I worked there for 2 years doing landmine clearance mapping. It was quite an interesting time. Again, you asked me, why did I go to Sudan? And my thinking behind that was like, well, I'm never going to go to South Sudan on holiday, so I may as well go and work there and see what it's like. So again, went into that very, very blind and with no clue of what I was really doing straight out of university. Amazing experience, and obviously, like, I earned a lot of money there, which enabled me to start my business after. And then must I stop talking, or did you
Wait, yes, because here's the thing. Like, a lot of people, often there's this, I don't know if you had this, well, maybe you not so much, but there's often like this sort of pressure. If you have studied abroad, there's this weight where it's like, oh, so what you want to do afterwards? What do you want to do? Type of thing. And some people have pressure to stay.
I think,
well, what did you want to do? What did you want to do?
What did I really want to do after?
Yes, like, honestly.
And to be honest, I don't really know, but maybe like travel and like, I don't know, chill, live a good life. I didn't really have any plans. I mean, to be honest, I want to say I plan for things, but I mostly just wing most things that I do. So I don't really have many plans. Like, if someone asked me tomorrow, hey, do you want to come to Hawaii? I'm like, sure. Let me just find out how to get a visa, and then I'm there kind of thing. So yeah, I guess I didn't. Obviously, after university, that there's always that big question of, so what next? And most people are like, I have absolutely no idea. And I think that was kind of my Sudan moment, is I had absolutely no idea. I'd qualified, I'd got a degree in mapping, so I was like, cool, let me make sure I use that a little bit.
Go to Sudan a little bit. Yeah, let's see what it's saying in South Sudan.
Yeah, so let me use that.
Awesome.
So, but I mean, it was really cool, and I was actually just having this conversation today, and it's so funny how people, like, what you actually study at university, unless you're like a doctor or a lawyer, you generally get a lot from that. I mean, like, current business, I probably should have done an MBA and maybe some kind of food course might be helpful. But so I didn't do that. So I went into Sudan, and then it was a very cool time, very different, and being in a war zone was a bit wild, but very cool.
Yes, but then you came back to them and said, okay, cool, like, I've got this mapping degree, I could use it, here and there. I think you did use it like in parts sometime, but then you said, I think, how does one think, like, I think a Scotch cart could be like a vibe. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, how does that even come to your brain? What was that? I know you just said just start, but how did it even come into your mind?
Yeah, so obviously, so my business is the Skotch Cart Company. And I started, it's a food. I mean, for a while, actually, that's a lie. For a while, when we first started the Skotch Cart, I was like having these visions of how we'd like do community development projects with, like, maybe we'll bring in some mapping and we can like go and like help this community. I had all these weird visions, and then I sat down with my uncle at the time, and he's like, hey, Yara, you have a catering business. I'm like, no, but we can like use the resources to like maybe map out like where we're getting our carrots from, and we can like create a side and he's like, no, you're a caterer. I'm like, okay, so now this is my job. I'm a caterer. Like, I didn't even know what I was doing in the beginning.
Right.
But I guess the reason how I started the business was I came back from Sudan. Obviously it was quite rough and tough there. I got a job in Zimbabwe doing a bit of mapping as well. But I guess I love to, I guess, challenge myself a little bit, but I also don't like working for people. I'm a little bit bossy myself. So I kind of just like doing my own thing and having my own time and doing it in my own time. So and we were also actually at Haifa, which is Harare International Festival.
Was that your first? Was that in the early days? That was in the early days. You were Haifa.
So Haifa, me and my friend, and we were sitting there and we were like, how cool would it be to have something, so Zimbabwean at Haifa next year. Like, that'll be so cool. And then, yeah, I kind of had a horse box, obviously from my riding career. It was actually my small little pony box that was broken down with no tires and like a 1960 Ford Zephyr bearing system that you can't find those bearings ever. So actually on that trailer now, we probably should get new ones, but no, we just keep those old 19 whatever Ford Zephyr bearings. But yeah, so I had that old horse box, and then yeah, we kind of just decided, myself and my friend, to start a mobile food trailer kind of vibe, and we just did it. And then the next year we were at Haifa, which was obviously that was our kind of goal. We just didn't have a massive goal. I mean, well, actually, that's a lie. We sat down with the same uncle who told me that I had a catering business, because I clearly wasn't aware. I looked back the other day, and my goals were, have 10 Scotch carts and, like, build this massive empire and whatever. So, I didn't have big goals back then, but I actually, looking back on my goals then, they were big. So, yeah.
Well, you're on your way to 10.
Ooh,
ironically.
It's too much work.
And what has been the greatest joy and the greatest challenge that you've experienced from that journey?
From the Scotch Cart?
Yeah.
So I think the greatest joy, so basically in the business, when we started, it was myself and a friend. And then out after a year, we kind of weren't getting along on the business. So that was obviously the best way to settle it. I guess my greatest joy is seeing the business grow, and I only employ women in my business. So I don't know, it's a little bit of a woman empowerment kind of thing, but
we love it. We love it.
And women also make the best coffees. No, I'm kidding. But I kind of just, when I came into the business, I wanted to kind of have something that I could grow, and I could grow people, and I could grow something. It wasn't necessarily, I want to do this whole food catering that clearly in the beginning wasn't the thing, but I wanted to like empower people and grow people. So my biggest joy is, my current manager, she came in as our first employee actually, and she was a barista and the manager, and she runs around, and she basically is the big boss in the business. So that for me is awesome. And I don't necessarily employ people with experience in, barista or in food or in a kitchen kind of thing. We kind of train them on the job. And yeah, that is, it's so awesome, because they are just so loyal to the job. And it's, I wanted to give people skills. Like, that was my thing in the business. Like, I want to create a business. Yes, cool, amazing, but I wanted to do it so that people could learn and people could grow, and for themselves, if they leave the Scotch Cart, they, at least go away with a skill. So that for me is the greatest joy, is seeing people grow. And obviously now, like, we've got six cafes and 2 mobile trailers that go to events. So it is a lot bigger than one little trailer at Haifa. But yeah, so obviously our staff base is a lot bigger now. But it's that, for me, it's so cool to see them grow and take on those roles in the job. And
why is it important that you empower people, or especially women specifically? Why is that? Has that always been a thing that you've wanted to do, or that you've carried? Why is that so important to you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've grown up in a family with strong, independent women. My granny had raised 5 children. Basically, my grandpa died when my mum was 21, and my granny had 5 to raise. So yeah, she's the matriarch of our family. So she raised those 5 children, and then again, my mum raised me by myself. So I guess I've always seen it as like the norm. Like, a woman is a strong woman in the workplace, kind of do anything. So for me, I think I wanted to pass that, knowledge and strength that I got from my early years to women, I guess, in Zimbabwe that haven't had that, upbringing, been brought up like that, to know that they're able to have a job and maybe be the stronger partner in their family. And, cultural sensitivity around that. But at the same time, like, these women have gone from strength to strength, and it's amazing how, if you give someone a job, and if you obviously you train them, and then you put them in a higher role, they have to raise their standards and meet that requirement. And it's so cool to watch people do that and, you know, see people grow and learn and like take on responsibility for themselves. And yeah, for me, it's very cool. So that's, I guess, I wanted people to be like that and know that they can, you know, fix their own tire and you know, drive themselves. And yeah, I guess that was for me like why.
It is very on brand. It is very on brand. There's also like the Zimbabwean women empowerment thing, but then also there's like I'm going to talk about the Zimbabwe piece around Operation Out of Town. I remember that was we did a few of those. Why was that important to you? So I'll speak on what that was and why it was important to you.
Yeah, so Operation Out of Town. So basically, we created, and Doomy, you were on like some of those pioneering.
I was on the first two. I was at the first two. I'm there.
Camera was double, triple chin under the. No kidding. It was thing like this. So basically, Operation Out of Town was kind of a thing we started where we actually took the Skotch Cart on a few, which was a little bit wild, like off on these treacherous roads where the poor old the stove like actually fell and bad idea. Anyway, but yeah, so Operation Out of Town was basically we kind of created a group of people that wanted to go out of town, explore parts of, I guess, close to Harare, maybe an hour and a half out of town. We could go on a weekend and yeah, just like hike and swim and like just explore a little bit of, you know, the country we live in as opposed to what is kind of, you know, the norm in Harare, I guess, is like quite a party, drinking kind of scene, which is totally not my vibe. So yeah, so just people outdoors and like, yeah, appreciating the beautiful country we live in. Yeah. So,
you said there's a quote. You said something like I'm reading it now. You said to call Zimbabwe home is such a privilege, and sometimes we forget it.
Yeah.
That's you. I said, you and Yara's, this is different English here. Then she says, then she goes on to say, to remind us of the wonderful lives we are truly lucky to have in our great and complex nation.
Woo!
This is you. I said, this is poetry.
I can add that to my.
But you agree, right? You think
I agree. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, I live by those words. I mean, we get stuck in our mundane and our, you know, our day-to-day jobs of we've got to do this and, you know, survival mode. Really, we are surviving, and Zimbabweans, that is a very prevalent thing. We do a lot to survive, I guess, as opposed to live. So I think, yeah, it's nice to step back and just go out and see and appreciate where we are. I mean, we have so much on our front doorstep. So yeah, that, and obviously I love traveling and going around, hence why I chose my university degree based on the trips. So yeah, I guess I've got a little bit of a travel bug in me, and actually going on from that now, we kind of stopped the operation not stopped it, but obviously I went
on pause,
traveling and whatever. So, and a COVID and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of now planning on, and trying to link it into my business and all that kind of stuff is I've just bought a Land Rover, and I'm going to convert it into like a mobile home. And I'm driving up at the end of the year, driving up to the equator and then driving back down to Zim. And I think I'll be about like 4 or 5 months doing that. And I kind of want to write a cookbook about like what food I get. I mean, all very brief and like rough still in my head. It might change. But yeah, write a cookbook about like, so you have your basic camping box of food and then like what you can get in the countries that I go through, and kind of try and link that to, the Skotch Cart and food. I guess I'm a caterer, so I need to really have that in the front of my mind and remind myself that cooking is your job.
It's like you're running a catering business.
So I'm gonna So and kind of just do like a travel journal and like how I go through the country, and because I think it's quite a fun little project that I'm gonna put up for myself. And I think that's again bringing Operation Out of Town back in. I mean, I keep going into these things of like travel and but wanting to be Zimbabwean, but so I mean, I guess I'm trying to link everything together: Scotch cart, donkeys, horses. We're trying to bring it all together. But so I guess it'll be Operation Out of Zimbabwe that it'll move into. But again, it's about meeting people and learning about the places and being in different places. And so
it's so funny because I was writing my notes. I even wrote down. I said Yara could have a travel show. Literally, I wrote that down like on my bullet points.
Oh,
So
really?
I was like, yeah, she clearly stole it from my mouth. But yeah, you could literally have a travel show with your, you're clearly like a traveler and an adventurer,
I think my
You
travel
know?
show would basically be me consisting of being broken down on the side of the road in my Land Rover, like wanting to know where to put the oil, and which many people get a lot of entertainment from. I tell you, it's always the Land Rover Land Cruiser conflict. So yeah, I think
Mm,
that would be my travel show: how to get yourself unbroken down. No, I'm kidding.
that's
But yeah, I do love
been done.
traveling.
It's never been done before. It's like it's never been done before. Like a Zimbabwean, not Top Gear, but you know what I mean, like a travel safari vibe. Anyway, but I'm getting
Mind you,
sidetracked. I'm getting sidetracked. But
oh,
speaking of travel,
yeah,
you hiked Mount Kilimanjaro,
yeah,
and you when you summited, sometimes like you have opportunity to say, I want to summit for a cause, and your
yeah,
cause was Zimbabwean mental health. Why?
yes.
Why was that the cause that you chose?
Okay, I want to give you like a long like emotional
Like,
thing.
like,
I really want to be a good person, but basically, I just wanted to climb Kilimanjaro, um, and well, the people that I was doing it with, Pete and Raymond, they had this cause, and it was of course very cool to join on. And I think for me, what was quite cool, I had a riding accident in the February March of that year.
mm,
Was this only last year? I feel like I've lived 5 years in like this first 4 months.
yeah,
Where's it gone? But yeah,
yeah.
so I'd had and obviously myself, I dealt with a few mental issues, after the horse fall and that kind of stuff, getting back on the horse. So for me, I guess I've never really struggled with mental health before. But for me, I guess it was a very cool thing to, raise funds and do that for that cause, because for myself, I'd had a mental battle from falling off the horse, and I hadn't actually gotten on my horse until after I climbed Kilimanjaro. That was like my goal, is like, okay, if I can climb Kilimanjaro, if my body can be strong enough to do that, then I can kind of get back on the horse. So yeah, that was a kind
Isn't
of
that
stepping
that's
stone
that's
for
a bit of an extreme thing. Couldn't you just go to like therapy or something? Like,
Doma
okay, I
shower.
had to climb a whole mountain.
So I had to climb all my tell me that I was fine, that I could walk again. No, 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 yeah. But I mean, the mental health thing, I think and also, so basically what they did is they raised funds for an app, to develop this app called Nani, and it's so basically it's accessible to people everywhere in Zimbabwe that are struggling, with their mental health.
What's it called?
And
What's it
this is,
called?
hey,
What's that app called? Say it
Nani.
again. Nani. Okay. Oh, Nani. N. Okay. I'm okay. Okay. All right. Got you.
And it's basically, yeah, so they're trying to have this app that's, accessible to Zimbabweans, because obviously it's very, again, culturally, it's quite hard to, or even like, it doesn't even have to be culturally, but it is very hard for you to admit that you have a problem or that you are struggling. And mental health is a little bit still taboo, I think, in Zimbabwe. So,
Yeah.
yeah, basically it's a hotline that you can call and speak to somebody about what's going on, and how they can help you. So it was a very cool cause to hike for, I think. And yeah, obviously doing the hike as well for myself was also quite cool to know,
Mm,
after that really bad accident, that your body really can do anything. It's your mind that will
mm, mm,
either deviate you or make it even better. I mean, you can put your body through so much
mm,
pain, suffering, but it's the mind that is really the
mm,
strongest thing.
mm.
So yeah, that was a very cool trip as well.
Do you go to therapy?
I did go to therapy between when I had my riding accident.
Mm,
After I fell off my horse, because I literally didn't know whether I was like coming or going. I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. Like
mm,
I didn't want to get back on the horse. But I mean, I
mm,
get, and I never really been to therapy before. I done sports psychology, which was obviously mental training of how to,
mhm,
be in the game and learn how to, like, you know,
mhm,
all that kind of stuff, and like envisioning yourself there. But I've never really gone and like spoken about my feelings or like how I'm doing. And I think, yeah, I think I should go to therapy every week. I mean, it's great. It's basically just a chat of seeing kind of how you are, and it's basically making you aware of your emotions and of why you're doing things and how you're doing things, but why are you doing those things, I think. And you never
mm,
really question like, why am I speaking to a person like this? Or, you know, or why did I react to that so much? And often you about it, but it could have been previous trauma that you've had in your life, or, you know, you've picked. So yeah, it's very interesting to see. And also you can feel yourself starting to react in a certain way. You can kind of either stop it or, like, I think the biggest thing I got away from those therapy sessions as well was, like, make sure you feel everything. Like, don't feel ashamed to be, you know, upset, or feel that you have to, like, a picture perfect life, or, you know, go through the phases, I guess, of life in a certain way. Like, definitely not. Like, it's kind of being present and learning about yourself. And I think for me it was awesome. Like, I found out, oh, bossy, I need to be less bossy. Yeah. No. But yeah, so I think yeah, mental health. I mean, obviously, it's been on the front. Well, it's been very prevalent after COVID. I think a lot of people have been addressing mental health issues, all of that kind of stuff. So I mean, I think, yeah, anyone that is struggling or suffering, or, you know, just doesn't even, like, you can't think of why you're behaving the way you are, why things seem. Or I think it's so cool to just go and chat to someone, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. I mean, I think, like, for many years people thought, oh, you know, like, oh, you've gone to see a psychologist, oh, they must be crazy, like, oh, you know. But I think it's a very cool thing. And yeah, I definitely saw a therapist after my fall. And I think even maybe in a few months' time, if something's not going right, I might just give her a call and say, hey, what do you think? Like, how do I deal with this? I'm so stressed. Why am I stressed? And then often you realize, actually, you stressed for no reason. You've created your own problems. Actually, why? You know? So yeah, very cool.
I go every month. I've been going every month for the past 3 years. Yeah, it's like 3 years now. A long time. So I think it's good. Like, but I think I speak about it openly now because I think it's important to destigmatize it, especially like as men, especially. It's like, are you okay? It's like, well, I think you just went into all the reasons why it's so good, and I agree fully with those things. You just have to destigmatize it. I think it's very powerful and very useful. You know?
Yeah, but also I think, I mean, a couple of people that I've spoken to kind of after I went, and like, and again, like, you must check in with people. Like, it is, because often you're struggling for months, like, what is going on? Like, I just can't do this. I don't know why. Like, you're so frustrated, and you're like, oh my God. And it's a simple thing of, like, you question yourself, like, why do I actually want to do this? And you often just doing it because you've put that goal out and you have to kind of achieve that. But actually, you don't really have to do that. You've put yourself in that box of, you must do this. Someone goes and asks you literally one question: why do you want to do that? And you're like, actually, I don't really know. Like,
I don't
doing it to do it. And, oh, actually, I don't really want to do that. So why am I stressing so much about that? Yeah, no, I think it's a very cool thing.
Okay, and then, so everyone listening, therapy is great. We look into Nani, because I think the main thing is like making therapy affordable, especially like in a Zimbabwean sense, like, so that it's destigmatized, but then also accessible for everyone that can use. So I think that's important. So I'll look into that and them. With regards to the place we call home, and I like to think of Zimbabwe as like, or anything really, like as a story. And a story has as a beginning, a middle, and an end, or like many chapters in between the start and finish.
Yeah.
What do you so in this particular chapter, right? I like to, from my perspective, it's like I'm trying to think a lot about how, in this next chapter of my life, how can I use my chapter to contribute to Zimbabwe's chapter in any small way that I can? And the vehicle through which I do that is through hearing people's stories, how they came to be, what compels them to be as caregivers they are for Zimbabwe and the various causes that are there. In your particular sense, for Zimbabwe's, and this is, I specifically try and keep it politics aside, but if a person wants to do that, they can. But I try and separate it because I think politics gets in the way of, it always has to, like, get in the way of everything that's good that we have. So in Zimbabwe's next chapter, what would, shifting its story for the better look like for you? What does that look like for you?
Oh, lolo, I have to come up with something fancy now.
It doesn't have to. You could say, I just wish everyone rode horses, man, because, or some guys once told me, it's, what the one guy say? He said, well, his name is Kuda. He says, it's being invested in everyone else doing better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that was like a nice one. So what does it look like for you?
I mean, for me, I think like I would like to see Zimbabweans really, I guess, living in the present Zimbabwe instead of always wanting to be, we're doing this for the future and like we're only going to do this once this happens kind of thing. Like, yeah, cool. Like we want to, I don't know, start a business in 2 years' time when I've got funding from this and this. Obviously, you've got to set realistic
Yeah.
benchmarks. But I think
Yes.
like I want people to just do things, like take that step forward and just no, like, and even if you fail, like cool, you failed, but like you've learned so much from it, you can do something else which might be better tuned to what you want to do kind of thing. So I think I want to see a lot more people starting things and doing things and creating things, because I think everybody has the potential to be, great and do their own amazing things. But I think often people are too scared, especially in Zimbabwe, because like, oh, it's so tough here already. And of course, I mean, I own a business in Zimbabwe and it is tough. Like life is tough and it's, but I mean, everywhere, everybody has something that they're doing that is tough. It's not only us, and I think as Zimbabweans, people sometimes feel a little bit victimized, like, oh, we Zimbabweans, it's tough here, like I can't do this, I can't do that, that attitude here. So I mean, I think for me, it would be go and do everything and go and do anything that you kind of want to do. And for me, I think that would be the Zimbabwe that I want to see, like kind of go-getters and, everyone thriving, I guess. And challenging themselves and doing things and knowing that you can do stuff in Zimbabwe. It's not, you don't have to leave to be better, or you don't have to leave to have a better life, or of course, go out, experience the world, see the things. But I mean, Zimbabwe is home, and I mean, it might not be my home forever. I might move, I might change. I mean, I'm far up to the equator. I might stay there. I might break down and not come home or be locked out of the country. I don't know, but yeah, I think just live and enjoy living, as opposed to waiting for stuff to happen to do something. Just go and do it, and then you'll realize there's so much out there to do and enjoy and see.
Yara Hanssen, thank you for your time. This has been great.
Yeah,
that was a perfect. I don't know how better to end it. I think you just hit the nail on the head. So thank you.
Of course, and thank you for having me. And I feel so privileged to be on this podcast. I listen to all of them, and I'm like, wow, there are some fancy people out there. Like cheapest Zimbabweans are, and like, congratulations to you, Doomy. It's such an awesome podcast. I love it, and I always tell everyone to listen. I'm like, mom, you have to go and listen to this one. I always think, like I say to him, I'm like, I always feel so clever after talking to Doomy. Like he always makes you like think about things, and I just feel clever after I've spoken to him. So yeah, good on you, because it's so cool chatting to you, and also hearing everybody else's stories. And it's amazing, like with this podcast, how Zimbabweans are scattered everywhere. Like I mean, not really. Okay, there's one friend in Norway, but like
everywhere.
she's
Literally.
up there and she real fancy. But it's just amazing how Zimbabweans are scattered all over the world, and there is always that one thing, like you see a Zimbabwean and there's like the head nod, or the way, like I felt it, and you like, oh, they are my people. It's very, very cool to hear people's stories, and it's kind of warming and exciting to know that everybody is so just cool people, man. Zimbabweans are great. I love them.
We're phenomenal. We're a phenomenal people. Wait, who would here's my one thing I want to ask before I let you go. Who do you want me to interview, or whose conversation would you want to hear?
I mean,
I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh,
outside of yourself.
What do you think? I love listening to my own voice, Shin?
No, I mean outside of you.
I'm just gonna go listen to the podcast over and over again.
But other than yourself, who do you think would be cool to have on the show?
Zimbabwean, obviously. Well, I've just been to Norway to visit Tendai Jamga, and got a very interesting story about how she's now living in Norway, and she's working for like Christian Dior and all these like major brands through like yoga and wellness. And she's obviously a Black Zimbabwean in a very, very white Scandinavian world, and how she's kind of navigating that. And yeah, I think she's a cool person to chat to.
Done. We'll reach out to her for sure. All right, Yazi, thank you so much for the time. Have a fantastic
Thanks for
evening,
having.
and we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, definitely. I'll reply to my WhatsApps.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Mangwanani Oga Pandino muka Nokuchaga uripiko Baby, wachoro nani